But it's, as I said to this team, if it's not complicated, it's probably not right, because if it was easy, somebody else would have done it. Right? So if you are doing an exercise of service design and everything is incredibly easy and incredibly smooth, and there are no issues and no conflicts and no challenges, and you're not stuck, etc., you have been smoking too much, or you have been taking some kind of substance, because it's perfectly normal. It should be difficult. It should be difficult. You're trying to resolve problems. And if they were easy to resolve, somebody else would have done it already. Okay? So, the next step is validation with stakeholders. And I say stakeholders because you can validate with customers, but you can also validate with people that are going to be providing the service. So, if you think of a public agency and you think the public agency is going to be providing the service, you can test it with the people that you think will be providing the service to see whether it will work. You do it based on your prototypes. Again, it can be very simple prototypes or very sophisticated prototypes. And you will always learn. And don't be afraid to fail. You don't get anywhere by standing by the side of the swimming pool and never jumping in. You have to, at some stage, you have to jump into the water and you have to start swimming. Ideally, what you want to do, if you can, is to test in the user's context. Is to understand the user's context. One example I like to give is I was working in China on the design of an iPad application for salespeople that were visiting doctors, and they had already made a digital prototype. So before I arrived, they had already made a fantastic digital prototype, and the digital prototype made use of all of the features of the iPad. There was music, there was interactive animation, there was all kinds of things, etc. And then I asked the people in the room, I said, where is your application going to be used? Where are salespeople selling? And they told me, well, in China, doctors are very busy, they are attached to hospitals, so usually the salespeople have to take 5 minutes in between patient visits, it's in a busy hallway because these are big hospitals, etc. So I said, okay, so you've made an application, this digital prototype, with music, yet you plan to use it in hospitals which are very busy, a lot of noise. And then you've made this sophisticated interaction which lasts about 2 minutes, and the salesperson only has 5 minutes with the doctors. You think the salesperson is going to be interested in an application that first has all kinds of animation for 2 minutes before they can get to their story? And what we did with the group then afterwards is we said, the challenge is to tell your story in 5 minutes. And so we had them make paper prototypes, so prototypes of screens, and we had one member of the group play the doctor and somebody else played the salesperson. And when we did the initial tests, nobody was able to tell their story within less than 15 minutes. And I said, there's something wrong. You only have 5 minutes. Salespeople only have 5 minutes. So start again. But that's easy because they're paper prototypes, so they're not very expensive. You've lost an hour, but it's not that bad. And go back and focus on the essential items. And don't come back until you have a story that can be told within 5 minutes. Otherwise, salespeople will leave the iPad in their car and they will use other means to tell their story. Okay? So validation is very crucial, and if you can, in a user's context. And people think that testing is incredibly dangerous. This is dangerous testing. When you are testing a bulletproof vest, that's dangerous testing. But most of the testing, there is no risk at all. Just going to a restaurant owner in Thessaloniki and showing what you have made, the worst that can happen is that he gets incredibly mad at you and that you can never eat in his restaurant again. Well, that's fine. I mean, we can survive that. If your bulletproof vest is not good enough, you have a problem. You have a problem. Okay, so don't be afraid to to test. Do it internally, externally. The only thing you should not do, there's one thing you should not do in testing. If, for example, this team has been working together on this solution, that automatically disqualifies any member of this team as a test person. You are no longer objective when you have worked on developing a solution. You're biased. So you should always, always, always have somebody who has not participated in the design process to validate. That's why I asked Christina to briefly play Kostas. She did very well, I think. Iterative, don't be afraid to kind of do this a couple of times in the process. There's nothing wrong with that. And this is kind of, I don't know whether you know the book called Lean Startup. Has anybody read the book Lean Startup? By Al Ries. Very easy read. It's very thin, it's very... And this is basically what they do, is they build, and they build with the idea that they will learn. And they continuously learn, improve, measure, etc. That's the cycle they're in. And there's nothing wrong with that. Okay? So, we will do the validation exercise. So, what we will do is we will agree who will play the customer. We will get to this very shortly. We will brief that person very briefly on what the characteristics are of the persona. So for example, what are the characteristics of John? And then that person will have to imagine that he's John. One person from the team will guide the user through the journey, and then another person will take notes. What are the reactions that I'm getting? Okay? Because these notes are important. That's the feedback you're getting. Explain the context, but as little as possible. This is not a sales pitch. You're not trying to sell your solution. You're trying to explain your solution, and you see what people's reaction is. Don't try to convince people that it's right. If you see that people say, well, no, this is not interesting, then try and understand what's not interesting. Walk through the relevant steps. They can give feedback on the fly, and then they can give overall feedback. Okay? It will become clear as we go through the process. So, I suggest that we have your table 1. Is that okay with you? 2, 3, and 4. Okay? So, I need a volunteer from table 4. Yeah? Okay? Alright. So please stand up. From the other teams, please stand up. Come around here. Stand up. Don't be shy. Come. All of you.
And there's not enough money. So he's trying to find a new way of approach to get some more money and create some more innovative services for his hostel. So I have one idea that in order to create a youth hostel for disabled young people, but he's not sure if this new whole initiative or an idea is trust, it's worth in order to create a whole innovation, and if it's worth in order to invest his last savings. So then he was trying to find a solution, and then he approached us, and we just arranged a meeting in order to discuss more about his idea, what he wants to do, what the market, if you have an idea about the market that he wants to expand and buy. And then we helped him in order to find out more about his new customers or the new audience that he wants to approach. So we are trying to help him create some more interviews and trying to get the research in the specific audience in the people and interviewing or have some conversation in order to get some insights from people that young people that have these disabilities, what's the problem that they face when they are going for holidays, if there are infrastructure or other accommodation that they can go, and each one idea like a service, like a poster like this, it would be innovative for them if we would like to have a service like this. And then, because Vangelis understood that in order to have one standalone service, that's okay, in order to do some renovation and make his old hotel more accessible to this kind of audience, it's not only one idea. And in order to create a whole ecosystem, a new network that his new hostel will be fit in. We just consult them and give him some instructions, strategies in order how he can collaborate it with other professionals from school and some private school trainings for taxi drivers and different education system for people and technical disabilities. How he can collaborate with him in order to create a whole ecosystem to fit these new services. We also help him to do some tests before start doing the whole renovation, and then doing some, I don't know, with